We have one more topic to get through when it comes to statistics and facts, and then we're going to get into an article and a TED Talk that was sent by you guys. So we will be discussing that today. Now, the sixth topic is the gender pay gap. A lot of you guys in the comments were, misinformed in thinking that there's no gender pay gap that exists in 2021, but in fact there is. And it actually shows that this year in 2021, women earn 82 cents for every dollar earned by men.
Okay. The gender pay gap. This is a myth that just refuses to die. A quick Google search. Equal Pay Act 1970. Equal Pay Act 1970. The Equal Pay Act 1970 was an act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom that prohibited any less favourable treatment between men and women in terms of pay and conditions of employment. The Equal Pay Act of 1963. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 is a United States labour law amending the Fair Labour Standards Act, aimed at abolishing wage disparity based on sex. See gender pay gap. It was signed into law on June 10th, 1963 by John F. Kennedy. Fair Labour Standards Act of 1938. So now we're going back to before the Second World War. The Fair Labour Standards Act of 1938, blah, is a United States labour law that creates the right to a minimum wage and time and a half overtime pay when people work over 40 hours. It also prohibits employment of minors. Okay, so at least since 1963, men and women have been paid the same rate for the same work. So your gender pay gap is debunked. It's bullshit. Men and women are paid at the same rate by law since 1963. So there's some facts for your ruler. Now, the feminists know that these laws were enacted decades ago, 50 years or more ago. And so they have this little sleight of hand here. They say the gender pay gap, and then they say there's a discrepancy between the earning of men and women, the earnings. Now, the reason there's a discrepancy is that men work longer and harder in higher paying jobs than women. So this idea that there's some sort of inequality here is bullshit. It's not inequality. And to then have another little sleight of hand trick where they say, well, now we need equity, in other words, equality of outcome. So women have to be represented 50% on all the boards of all the companies around the world. I'm not even going to bother going there. I'm not even listening to the fucking bullshit. When I hear women demanding equity in jobs like, bricklaying, where 95% all around the world, bricklayers are male. Now, it's a trade, so it's a worthwhile qualification to get. Bricklaying, why aren't the women demanding equal representation on the construction sites as bricklayers? So once I hear that argument coming from feminism, I might pay attention. Until then, I'm not interested in this bullshit. It is a complete distraction. It's a load of crap. And let me tell you something. If 50% of the boards are taken over by women, it's going to be a death knell to industry globally, because you're putting women in places where they don't belong. And I'm not saying that they don't belong because they can't do the job. Some women can do the job, but not 50% of the boards. No fucking way. The men that get up to those levels earn their way up, or they build their own bloody businesses and get up there on their own. So no, I'm not interested. It's not an issue. It's definitely not a MGTOW issue.
And so we still have a long way to go when it comes to equality, when it comes to being in those high executive positions. We've never seen a female president. There are not many women who are in high status positions, whether it be CEOs or, politicians.
Well, Margaret Thatcher, Angela Merkel. There are women leading the free world all over the world. Have done for decades. What the fuck are you talking about, woman? This is your male perpetrator, female victim narrative. Look at the actual world around you. Like, when women want to, they can achieve whatever they want. The men aren't standing in the way. Right? It's just that the women, in most cases, either don't want to or they're not capable of it. So just this idea that equality, you're talking equality again, it's rubbish. All of it is rubbish. Drop your feminism. Just get rid of the feminism. You'll find you're living in a far, far better place, ruler. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's just, we need to advocate for more women being in more powerful positions. Just like we want men to have more ability to show their emotions and empathize with them and how they're feeling, we also want women to be able to be bosses and, own businesses and have the same rights and have the same respect that men do when they pursue these sorts of dreams.
This is absolutely ridiculous. So what rights do men have that women don't in business, in any walk of life? Like what rights are women not able to access? I mean, give us some facts. Name the rights. What rights do men have that women don't have in any walk of life? Tell us. You keep on with this narrative that women are somehow oppressed. Where is the evidence for it? No, you've told us, women are pressured to wear certain clothing, not go out at night, blah, 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 blah. That's not oppression, right? It's common sense. Men are in danger when they go out at night. What's the big deal? It's called risk. Life's full of it. So, where's the oppression for women? Why do we have to stand up and empower women all the time? You've glossed over anything to do with men in this video. You honestly leave the subject of MGTOW alone. Just walk away from it.
So now that we've talked about all that, let's talk about this article. This one is titled, "First Men, Now Boys Are Going Their Own Way." Now, there was a quote in this which really resonated because a lot of you guys in my previous video were kind of giving me your view on what it means to be a MGTOW. I know I had it wrong. A lot of you guys were quick to let me know that I was describing MGTOW in an incorrect way. So I want to include this quote because I think you guys will agree with it. And this MGTOW member says, essentially MGTOW is a statement about living life your way rather than trying to make a woman happy or being a slave to cultural expectations. And honestly, I love that. I love that, I respect that, I admire that, and I honor that. I think we all have the freedom to do what is best for us. I know in my last video I was saying, I don't know why men would opt for no dating, no marriage, no kids, but you know what? everyone has the freedom to make the decision for themselves. It might hurt my feelings, it might hurt other girls' feelings, but at the end of the day, we are all allowed to do what we want. And a lot of you guys were kind of coming for me, telling me, oh, when a woman, wants to be a single independent woman, she's cheered on and she's like celebrated and applauded. But when a man wants to do that, he's like looked down upon. And I want to apologize if that's how it came off in my video, if I said anything that was insensitive. To be honest, I celebrate men who want to, go their own way, as long as they are not harming women.
You want to apologise if it seemed like it came across that way. What other way could it come across? I mean, you're the one who's telling us that we need to be equal or treat each other equally and take responsibility, accountability, and you're now telling us that it took all of that to make you see that women are applauded for being independent and whatever, and men are belittled for it. Now, what's the bigger picture? What's the bigger picture around that? That men are forced into this role as in the plantation, and it's slavery. Men are forced into it. And you're telling us that as long as we don't hurt a woman's feelings, we can go MGTOW. Do you actually understand any of it yet? Because it doesn't look like it.
In the process, as long as they're doing what's best from them and they're doing it from a place of love. The problem that I see was a lot of it was from pain. And I've realized that anytime we do things from a place of hurt, from a place of pain, we never really achieve a change. We never find different results. So I just encourage you guys to follow your own path, whatever that looks like, but make sure you're doing it because it's right for you. Don't just fall into this hole of so-and-so told me that divorce is so prevalent and,
The lack of self-awareness. It's incredible. You've just told us 41% of first marriages end in divorce and women initiate it 75% of the time. That's a coin toss whether or not you're going to get divorced, yes or no, as you're standing at the altar. 60% of second marriages end in divorce, 73 a third. So it's just an endless downward spiral for men. So of course men are going MGTOW. And whether or not it hurts women's feelings is immaterial. And as to why you end up making that decision, as long as you make it. Once you've made it and you've got rid of these women, it's just onward and upward from there. It's like, like I say, the lack of self-awareness in this woman is unbelievable.
His wife took everything from him and X, Y, and Z, because let me tell you, women hear horror stories all the time of being stalked by their ex-boyfriends, being abused by their husbands, but we still strive for a better outcome. We still believe in a healthy relationship. We still have hope. And that's kind of what I wanted to come across, was that it's okay to go your own way. And whether you're a man or woman, that's fine. But just continue to have hope, because I feel like once you lose hope, what else is there to really grasp onto? Let's keep going with this article. So there was an author and a psychologist, Meredith Fuller, and she says, we have a younger generation who are chaotic and rudderless. They have no role models, no mentors, and no sense of where they fit into society. It's crucial that we encourage our children to find a mentor, a teacher, a relative, or someone who teaches them sport. Someone who they can communicate with, talk honestly to, and learn skills about healthy relationships. There is no reason that a teenager who's barely 13 or 14 is already opting for MGTOW, right? There is no reason that we should be separating ourselves from the other sex when we haven't even lived our life, when we haven't even formed an identity, right? I felt the same way about getting married young. We also shouldn't be forming such bold opinions from such a young age. Now, the psychologist continued on by saying that both sexes have different challenges. This is really what I wanted to address in this video. We've lost sight of that. We're stuck in a gender war, and it's harming our children. It's becoming very narcissistic, selfish, and a sense of entitlement is running rife. We need to get a focus back on having respect for other human beings, for partnerships, loving bonds, and trust, rather than simply seeing what you can get out of a relationship.
Yep, yeah. So with MGTOW, trust is gone. With Western women, trust doesn't exist. All right, it's broken. It's finished. MGTOW are never going to trust women again in the West. It's as simple as that. And without trust, you don't get respect. And without trust and respect, there can be no functional relationship. Trust and respect are the foundations upon which all relationships are built. Business, friendship, there's got to be a minimum level of both trust and respect. Now, just to start the relationship. Without those, there's no relationship. And women do not respect men, and they don't trust men. Men are taught to respect women. So there's that on that side. There's nothing on the other side. And so the relationships in the West are dysfunctional. And you yourself have said it's hard work having a modern relationship. And it's hard work because it's fundamentally broken. And I know what I'm saying because I've got a very strong relationship in the East with an Eastern woman who was brought up to respect and trust men. And the relationship is simple. It's not hard. It's like wearing a glove. So I know what I'm talking about here. It's something that I've lived in the West all of my adult life, and I've had numerous relationships. All of them have been dysfunctional at some level. Some of them lasted longer than others, but they were all dysfunctional. And I know they were all dysfunctional because I know what a functional relationship is. And I can compare the two. So there's no going back for MGTOW. Well, that decision to go your own way, and then finding out what it is actually like to live that lifestyle. After that, there's no going back. No going back at all. So I don't know what to say to you.
Children need to learn that sense of give and take. They need to be taught about delayed gratification. Life is not all about self. It's not all about making yourself happy instantly and constantly. And it's not about running away from the opposite sex. It's about learning to communicate effectively and genuine caring. I really, really loved that article because she was not saying, don't go MGTOW, that's the wrong decision. But she was just saying, hey, do you realize that we're in war with one another rather than attacking the true culprit, which is the justice system, which is the way that we're raised, which is the societal norms, which is the gender stereotypes. That's what we should be attacking, rather than pointing our fingers and saying men are the victims or women are the victims or men have it harder, but women have this that's more challenging. Why not just empathize with each other? Because until we can listen to one another and understand where the other one is coming from, we're never really going to make a positive change.
Yeah, well, obviously you're not listening to MGTOW because MGTOW don't want to change. We're not agitating for change, right? We're not part of the gender war. There's no fighting going on with MGTOW, right? MGTOW are just turning their backs and walking away. they've had enough. They're not fighting. There's no pointing fingers. Like MGTOW, I haven't got time for that. We're just going our own way and living a good life the best we can. So you're not listening and you're not caring. You've demonstrated that throughout this video. So, you don't really have anything to add. You don't really have anything you can gush over some quote from someone that you find says something to you, but care factor 0 from MGTOW. It's not our fight. We're not into it. We're not fighting.
We're never going to have different laws in place. We're never going to see a day when we're truly equal in every sense until we start fighting where we can, which is by signing petitions, voting for the right laws. That's what we need to be fighting against. It's not with one another, because we're just separating ourselves further from the truth. So this is the last kind of piece of this video. Thank you so much if you've stuck with me this far. This TED Talk was sent to me by one of you guys, whoever you are. I appreciate you, and I loved this TED Talk. I encourage you guys all to watch it. It's Justin Baldoni's TED Talk. It's titled, "Why I'm Done Trying to Be Man Enough." And this TED Talk legit gave me goosebumps because he hit all the spots. Like, he really summed up why the masculine energy has become the way it is, and it's honestly toxic where we've taken it.
Yeah, okay. Now, I've got to say one thing here. I don't need to be told what masculinity is by a feminist. I'm a man. I know what masculinity is. Now, regarding what this guy's saying, and I've seen his TED Talk, 2 points here. First of all, I used to work in a female-dominated workplace, and one of the women in there was what they call a butch lesbian. So to me, she was just a cross-dresser, right? She dressed as a man, and she put on what I call masculine airs, and it was an absolute caricature of masculinity. And that's what this guy is talking about in his TED Talk. He's playing masculine characters. And that's what this woman was soaking up, this masculine caricature of masculinity. And it's not real. It's got nothing to do with reality about being a man. So, and I can see you don't understand masculinity from a male perspective, and it's hardly surprising. Now, the other thing is, I used to work for the largest media corporation in the world, a corporation that probably employed this bozo. Okay, now, there's 2 things that I've been told by senior management. Now, I worked in IT. I was a software developer for this corporation. I never went to Hollywood, thankfully. But I was told by senior members of staff, there are 2 things that make money. Number 1, never bite the hand that feeds you. And what they mean by that is the sponsors, the advertisers, the major money channels, in other words, donations, all that sort of thing. Anyone who's putting forward big money will never be criticised in their media. There'll never be an investigation into them. They get a free ride, a free press, good press, for as long as they keep giving money to the corporation or spending money with the corporation in advertising dollars. The other thing that sells movies and papers and media is telling the people what they want to hear. Right? And it's about the the hero villain narrative. It's like the narrative you're pushing with your male perpetrator, female victim. It's what feels good. It's what people want to hear. And that's what sells. And so, he's talking about these comic book characters and their masculinity. People want to hear it. It's the narrative. It's the legend. It's the story that people want to hear. And that's what sells. Because if you're actually telling people what life's really all about, you don't get anywhere. And the other thing is, you look at when the narrative changes to the woke narrative, no one's interested in that. They lose money. This idea that women, tiny little woman's going to kick the shit out of big men in movies. They just bomb in the box office. The Ghostbuster movie, for example, just absolute flop. Now, it's because it's the people are not interested in that narrative. It doesn't make money. So this guy raving on about masculinity and how it needs to change, it's all just construct. Men don't need to be told how to be masculine. We're born with it. It's in our DNA. It's just got to be allowed to flourish. And it does. MGTOW do it. That's what MGTOW's about. That's why it's men going their own way.
All of us. I'm not blaming women. I'm not blaming men. I'm blaming just the way that life is and the way stereotypes and society has created this masculine persona. So Justin Baldoni is an actor, and he started off by talking about, his roles in movies and how the masculine character is always portrayed as like machismo and like powerful and like being charismatic and strong. And he talked about having this discrepancy because when he would look in the mirror, he's like, I don't feel all of those things, right? Like, I'm playing all these male actors in these movies that have this type of, demeanor, but that's not truly who I am deep down inside. So one quote he said that truly resonated with me, which I wrote down, was that I've been pretending to be strong when I felt weak, confident when I felt insecure, and tough when really I was hurting. And he reported that he was exhausted with trying to be man enough for everyone all the time. I can resonate with this so much. As a woman, right? There are days when I don't feel like being so womanly. I don't feel like being so nurturing and being the helping hand and cooking and cleaning and doing my duties as a woman, right? There are times when I don't want to put a hot outfit on and put my best makeup on and rock a smile and, be everyone's positive force. There are times when I need that from others. So I can resonate with this so much. As a woman, right? There are days when I don't feel like being so womanly. I don't feel like being so nurturing and being the helping hand and cooking and cleaning and doing my duties as a woman, right? There are times when I don't want to put a hot outfit on and put my best makeup on and rock a smile and, be everyone's positive force. There are times when I need that from others. So I think both genders can really understand what it means to be disillusioned with just not feeling like yourself. He also said that when he was growing up, in order to feel accepted by other men, he had to kind of dismiss the feminine traits, being emotional, that's considered being a wuss, or being empathetic, oh no, that's for girls. He said that's extremely wrong and toxic. We as humans should not be forced to be anyway. And even more importantly, rather than striving to be manly enough or womanly enough or ladylike enough, why not just strive to be a good human being? Literally, why can't we just make it that simple? And it's funny because during this TED Talk, I thought about my parents and I was like, dude,
yeah, okay, she hasn't really got anything more to say on this sort of thing. She gets a bit personal here and I can't be bothered with it. So I'm going to end it there. I'll just say one more thing though. At the moment in the West, what's irking the West at the moment, what's eviscerating us at the moment, is how we can define a woman, or our inability to define what a woman is. It's sent the internet into spasms. On the borders of the periphery of the West are men. They're rattling their sabres, and I'm talking about Russia and China here. They're leading us to war. And we've got women like what we're seeing here, don't feel like rocking a smile or something, and honestly, the collapse has got to come soon. Some people are predicting after the Winter Olympics in China, so that's only February, March. Honestly, if we don't wake up as men and find our manhood, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. The US, the strongest military in the world at the moment, trying to strip white supremacists out of the ranks, and trying to lower the standards so women can pass basic training. And we've got armies of millions of men waiting to pounce. So, from a MGTOW point of view, good luck. Bon voyage.